Yo guys, what is up? Max in a Wonderlands video, and today we're talking about if Wonderlands can be saved. Now, at the time of recording this video, Wonderlands on the Steam charts is sitting at significantly less players than Borderlands 3 and Borderlands 2, and Wonderlands is currently receiving weekly hotfixes and new content every few months, so the fact that it's sitting less than those games is not a great sign. Now, this is not a video that I wanted to make to bash on Wonderlands. In this video, we're going to identify some of the core issues of the game, and then we're going to propose solutions and changes that I think would be dramatic changes to the game to bring back players and hopefully save the game, because I think this game is incredible. It just needs a few things added to really make it great. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get right into it. So in order to make solutions or propose changes to the game, we need to first identify what the issues are that need changing. Where does the game need improvements? Where does it struggle? I personally really enjoyed my playthrough of Wonderlands, but it wasn't really until the end game that some of the issues started to rear their faces. And the very first issue, I've identified three that I'd like to talk about, is Chaos Chambers, and more so endgame diversity. Now, Chaos Chambers are masterfully done. They are random encounters that you have to earn your difficulty through with a risk-reward system. I really think Chaos Chambers are good. The issue is that it's just Chaos Chambers. And Chaos Chambers, although they're random, they're repetitive. And when you need to do 50 of them to get to the max difficulty, which is where usually players in Borderlands games are really start getting into their gear and grind, you need to do so much more than that to get up to Chaos 50. I don't think many players or casual players are getting to Chaos 50. I would be impressed if it's more than 10% of the player base is at Chaos 50. But there's not much endgame diversity besides Chaos Chambers. You go and do a Chaos Chamber and you roll those bunnies until you get your piece of gear, and then what you take that gear to is more Chaos Chambers, which I think is a big issue because you're just gonna get stuck in there. Now, the PLCs have added a little bit of additional content on the side, but the season pass is basically Chaos Chamber expansions, and while adding new rooms to the Chaos Chamber, they're not really doing anything that's adding a refresh or making it feel genuinely new, besides these new rooms sometimes, but it's still just running a Chaos Chamber. So we've identified our first issue, which is endgame diversity. Now we're moving into our second one, which is farming. Farming for specific gear. There's never been so much RNG in a Borderlands or Borderlands-like game, and it can be really frustrating when you want to get a specific role, because not only is farming difficult and there's so many layers of RNG, but the stats genuinely make a big difference. It is a big difference rolling all damage on an amulet or getting all damage on a class mod. Those are very impactful things, and when the difficulty for the game is scaling so hard, those rolls are going to become even more important, and getting what you want is even more important and even more frustrating when it's so hard. And the big thing that Wonderlands, I think, struggles with a bit is that, one, the Chaos Chambers are really great for getting gear, almost too good. In fact, the Chaos Chambers make it so it almost never feels worth to farm dedicated bosses. And farming dedicated bosses not only is very rewarding because you know what you want, you've got your eyes set on, you go and do it, and you can definitely do dedicated farming in Wonderlands, but the drop rates are pretty poor. The drop rates of ascended gear are really poor. Some of the best gear farms right now, if you're not farming bunnies, if you want to go get something good, is the Wheel of Fate, which is another RNG spit out legendary things. It's just not quite as satisfying as getting the drop from a boss, and getting a drop from a boss is almost kind of wasting your time a bit when you could just go get it probably slightly faster from the bunnies, because the bunnies are such a good source. So once again, I'm going to be talking about addressing all these issues. I just want to talk about the issues first, and then we'll talk about solutions for them. And then our last of our core issues has been with the Season Pass itself. Gearbox has significantly improved the Season Pass content as new iterations have come out. I think DLC 3 or PLC 3 is significantly better than PLC 1, but one of the biggest drop-offs of players that I've seen for Wonderlands was with the introduction of the DLC, because the DLCs just did not match their expectations. As Borderlands players, people that have been huge, ginormous fans of the franchise for forever, we've been receiving very similar DLCs and structures of that DLCs for a very long time. Now, Gearbox tried a lot of new things with Wonderlands, and I applaud them for that. Genuinely, the like luck mechanic and the new chaos chambers and the chaos system and the ascended. Like, there's so many good things that came with this game. I think one of the biggest things is that when they tried new things and people didn't like them, they responded to that feedback and made improvements. For example, when the game launched, you could brick your weapon if you like rolled it too many times, and that wasn't a fun mechanic. That was an intentional design. People didn't like it. We responded, and Gearbox changed it. Same thing with the loot luck not being character wide and having to do the dice every single time. That was a issue that the community didn't like, and we told Gearbox about it, and Gearbox responded and fixed it. They made it exactly how we wanted. And that's kind of the big frustration I have with the paid content, is that the first DLC wasn't what people were hoping for. It didn't live up to expectations. The feedback was very strong, and the other follow-up DLCs have basically kind of been the same thing. They're definitely better. They've made improvements to the wheel. They've listened on that, but it's still not the end game content that I think this game deserves, because the base game for Wonderlands is so freaking good. It's so good that a like proper content cycle, something that like Borderlands 2 or Borderlands 3 received, with story DLCs, with takedowns, would have made this, in my opinion, possibly the best game in the franchise. So for the paid content to be a little bit of a letdown was frustrating, and we're going to be talking about what they could do moving forward, aka a season pass 2, and so on and so forth. So those are the like core issues that I found with the game. Now let's talk about some solutions. So those are some of the issues with the core of the game. Now let's talk solutions, and we're going to do that in a little bit of a roadmap form. Now, the Blight Caller class launches in probably a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're not totally sure, but hopefully with the new addition of a new class, it's going to bring a lot of players back to the game. Now, I think this is probably going to be a big point in the game where Gearbox looks at the community and the state of the game to see if a Season Pass 2 is not only wanted, but if it would be worth. And I think this would be a little bit of a mistake. I would urge them to try this idea out, which is dropping a free content update that adds something like a Malawan takedown or a Cartels event. Let us know about it, that it's coming, so all these new players that are going to be coming in for the Blight Caller class would, one, stick around because they know that there's this big endgame content update that's coming that's for free. It'll help win the good graces of players over, and also add endgame diversity and something new to farm. I think a free like takedown would do so much good for this game, and I think it could definitely add to the saving of Wonderlands. After that free like Wonderlands takedown event, and obviously this is all like theoretical, it's just kind of like ideas. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on this plan, but I'd love to see a like Chaos 2.0 rework. Now, there's a few issues that I have with Chaos. I love that you have to earn your difficulty, but I think the big selling point for this game is trying out new class combos, making those new characters, and the grind to Chaos 50 is a very long one, and having to do it on multiple characters can be kind of a pain. I think Gearbox should be doing their very best to incentivize people messing around with all these different class combos and making all of the classes to experiencing all the possible class combos. And having to grind to Chaos 50 to get to the true endgame, I think is a little bit discouraging. So one thing that I think would be cool, one, is possibly, once you unlock Chaos 50, unlocking it for your other classes, or at least getting a skip, so you don't have to do like 1 through 20. Another thing that I would love to see is, currently I'm playing at Chaos 50, and about 50% of my gear is non-chaotic. I grinded hours to get to Chaos 50. In no way should non-chaotic gear, which is basically useless to me, dropping at Chaos 50. You know what I mean? That's like the ultimate endgame difficulty right now. The fact that half of the gear is basically useless to me is really frustrating in a gear-based game. So a filter or a way that they would just buff up the drop rates of like Primordial and Ascended gear, and the same thing with their other Chaos levels, just to see that other gear more often, I think would be a bigger incentive to grind the Chaos levels. The next thing I'd love to see in a Chaos rework is maybe some Chaos exclusive gear. The only difference between Chaos 1 and Chaos 50 is your gear goes up in numbers. There's no new content that you unlock by playing through all of the Chaos levels. You know what I mean? Maybe some Chaos exclusive weapons that incentivize players to grind through the Chaos levels that are genuinely strong weapons, because right now, weapons, I'm gonna be honest, don't feel that great in Wonderlands. Like, there's a lot of pretty meh legendaries. Even with all the balancing that they've done, some Chaos exclusive guns to incentivize players to level through the Chaos levels would be great. And the last thing, possibly, this would probably be the point where many people would disagree with me, but honestly, I wouldn't mind if they scaled back the Chaos and just brought it back down to like 30 or consolidated it down to 20 even. Just so you could still earn those difficulties. You would still have Chaos 50 difficulty, but maybe scale it down to 35 so there's less of a grind to get to the hardest difficulty. I think about the amount of people that were probably playing on Mayhem 10 and Borderlands 3 has to be ginormously higher than the amount of people that are playing on Chaos 50 in Wonderlands, and I think maybe incentivizing people to play the endgame and maybe making it less of a crazy, monotonous grind to 50 could do wonders for the game. And my very last thing, if we get a free Maliwan takedown or a Wonderlands takedown-esque thing, if we get some reworking of Chaos, buffing the drop rates, improving the loot that you're getting, reducing some of the grind, adding some incentivization to grind the Chaoses, we've got that. The game's in a really great state. That would be when you add brand new paid content. You've won players back. There's already the model for paid content in Wonderlands in that Tangle Drift is literally what you would expect from a DLC. It's got a new area, new bosses, new storylines, new quest lines, new weapons, new class mods. Like, add Tangle Drift, like that same formula as a DLC. Add Mount Craw, that same formula as a DLC, and maybe slap a raid boss at the very end of it that we can fight outside of the Chaos Chambers. I think if these three things get done, if we get a free Wonderlands takedown or Cartels event that stays in the game, that adds new endgame, if we get a little bit of a rework to Chaos that increases drop rates, makes it easier to get gear, incentivizes players to get through the Chaos levels and try multiple classes, and then we get new story-based DLC, I think this could do absolute wonders for the game and quote-unquote save it, and that's kind of the point of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you didn't see this as, like, disrespectful in any way. Like, I'm genuinely so passionate about this game, and, like, I hope that this came off as constructive and not like just complaining and complaining. These are my solutions, and I'd love to hear your guys's. That is going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will catch you all on the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.